Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel here at Wargamer of Kent. Now today I want to go through possibly my favourite World War II force and how it plays in Bolt Action version 3, and that is of course the Home Guard. Now Armies of Great Britain has just been released on the app, so we can now have a look at all the different units you can use. And of course there is a profile for using the Home Guard. Now to start off with today, I'm going to go through my painted collection, the different units I've got and the manufacturers I've got them from. And then I want to move on to how they play using Armies of Great Britain. Now, for some of you that have used the previous Operation Sea Lion campaign supplement, you may see there's quite a lot missing in the Armies of Great Britain book. But I think because the Armies of Great Britain book is a general piece, and you can still, as I'll show you later, play a fairly good Home Guard force with some support from the British regulars. So to start off, let's go through the figures I have in front. Now they are a range of manufacturers. So we've got a Footsore, we've got a lot of Warlord figures, and we've got some bad Squiddo as well. So I've roughly arranged them into how they would work using the campaign supplement. So we've got 3 squads of LDV and then 2 squads of Home Guard at the back. Now, I'm sure those of you who are more read into the period that the LDV and the Home Guard are actually the same body. The LDV was the initial kind of formation of them, and then once they got properly uniformed, they were turned into the Home Guard. The LDV, as a result, you got all sorts of people in civilian kit, various firearms and melee weapons. So that's where you get some really fun models. And you can sort of play them together that, you know, they've only got a few pieces of kit come through. Only some of the squads have got uniformed and fully equipped. So to start off with, we have an officer team here. So we've got this lovely figure here, this kind of major. He's got his old war medals on. Now this is from Footsore. It's part of their very British Civil War range, which some of the models there are fantastic for using for Operation Sea Lion. And then I kind of like to have him with the kind of village notables. We've got the police officer there, and then of course the ARP warden. These two are Warlord figures. I think they come in a box, a kind of blister pack they call Defenders of the Realm. Now the 3 LDV squads are a mixture, so the base of them are formed from the Warlord LDV squad of the same name. You get 10 figures there. Now you get a kind of rifleman, for instance, as you can see. And then some of them have slightly different levels of customization. So I've painted them slightly differently. So take this one and this one. I think the hands are separate. So you have the choice of kind of what weapon to give them. And, you know, given they're the same pose, they're painted slightly differently, they'll look different on the tabletop. And then you've also got like a banker with a shotgun. Shotguns are plenty in this army. But I've also liked to intersperse some different manufacturers. So we've got some Footsore, more Footsore figures here. So a man with a Lewis gun there, with a pack but no uniform. And I quite enjoy his loader friend. There we are. With some medals and then a kind of basket of grenades as well. But also some of my favourite figures here are from Bad Squiddo. Bad Squiddo run by Annie, fantastic little manufacturer, focuses predominantly on female figures, like women throughout history, and wouldn't surprise you, there's some fantastic land army figures, but also just general civilians. My personal favourite in the collection is this stout old woman here. I like to enjoy the fact that she's with her kind of grandfather's assegai that he captured in the Zulu Wars. But they look kind of gruff, they look well sculpted, they look actually how women would look like for the period, not pulp figures, which I know some people enjoy them, not my cup of tea. I prefer women figures to look a bit more real. But as you can see here, we've got a 3, I like to see them as spy teams, almost, like SOE figures. I mean, these are really handy figures. I use them more as objective markers, again from Warlord. And they can also be used for Normandy 44 as well, which is really nice. So moving on to the Home Guard proper. My Home Guard are Wargames Foundry figures. So they come up very slightly smaller than kind of Warlord 28mm, but it's not really noticeable. So there's the two there. If we get them side by side, you can see they're slightly shorter. I mean, this guy's crouching down, so it's not helping much. But I think it gives that impression that they're not as well kitted out. They've only got their gas cape on. They haven't got a big pack on. They look a bit more nervous. There's plenty of forage caps on them, which is really nice. And of course, they've got this guy here's got a BAR. So not something you'd see in the regular British Army, but they were taken out of stores to equip the Home Guard. And then it wouldn't be a Home Guard force without the Wilmington-on-Sea, the Dad's Army platoon. I mean, some of the nicest figures that have been made. This is Captain Mannering, and then we've got the whole lot there. We've got Wilson. You've got Pike there with his scarf and machine gun. I do have civilian clothed versions of them as well. I just haven't got around to painting them up. Now, some of the most interesting parts of the Home Guard army is the weird and wonderful artillery, I suppose you could call it, that they had. So we've got the Blacker Bombard even. I mean, it's essentially just a giant spigot mortar. They had a terrible range, and it would just go, this would be the projectile here. I mean, you can see some other ones there on the base. Not a great range, and the whole idea to take out tanks wasn't that it had any armor piercing, but it was simply that the explosion itself would concuss and hopefully take out a few rivets and just take out the tank rather than destroy it in a more traditional, conventional manner. And then you move on to the Northover projector. Now this, again, it looks very done in someone's garden back shed. Now these used incendiary rounds. So the whole point was they would fire at a tank and then the tank would catch a light. Now, the issue with the Northover projector is because of its incendiary ammunition, it was quite unreliable. It was known to blow up on occasion, and that's reflected in the rules it has in different systems as well. But again, a very funky looking kind of almost pipework gun. And then finally, we have the Smith gun. Actually produced in quite considerable numbers, but just was a bit unreliable. One of the curious things about this gun is, if you look, the top there is actually a wheel. So it would be transported on its side like this, and then simply just turned over, ready for combat. Now, they did also use a Bren gun conversion. I think there was a couple of prototypes you can find images of, but this again never really saw actually active service, but was eventually ready to equip Home Guard units. And this is another miniature by Warlord. All of the artillery is by Warlords. They did a very nice range when the campaign supplement came out. And finally, I don't know if you can call it an armoured detachment, but I think they're bulletproof. We've got the Medium Mark II, a Vickers medium tank. This was originally made in the 1920s, long obsolete by 1940, and was been phased out by the British Army, except for maybe some training purposes. Now, this is a lovely miniature by Empress Miniatures. It's just so big. It looks almost very World War I, that kind of colonial period afterwards as well. Its armor was just about bulletproof. I mean, an anti-tank rifle would go straight through this, but it adds something quirky to the Home Guard force. And then we have this up-armoured car. So it's a conventional civilian car, but with some armoured plates on the front and on the windows as well, with some rifles sticking out. This is based off a quite famous photo of one driving around a English village. Again, not very useful in actual combat, but I think you can justify having a frontal armour rating of 7+, just to maybe get your officer team into combat. And then, in absolutely non-camoed fashion, this is truck here. This is by Warlord, as is the car beforehand. Just a nice civilian truck, nice and heavy. The transfer I bought on eBay. I think I just bought it from a kind of model kit maker. I believe Capstan is a kind of cigarette brand that was around at the time. I thought it'd be quite fun to have some advertisements, as this one really looks like it's just been driving around doing some deliveries, and now it's delivering troops to the front. So this is all the painted Home Guard. I do have BEF painted as well for a separate force. So what I'll do now is I'll rearrange it and go through what an 1,000-point Home Guard army would look like in Bolt Action version 3. And here we are of 1,000 points of a Home Guard inspired army using the new Armies of Great Britain for Bolt Action V3. So to start off with, we've got a core infantry platoon. We have a platoon commander represented by Captain Mannering there. Then we have 4 Home Guard units. Now there's a slight mixture in each unit. So 2 of them have an NCO with an SMG. 2 of them have light machine guns in, represented by the Lewis guns. 1 of them has a BAR, so this one over here. And then all of them have 10 men or women, 10 soldiers. Oh, I don't even know if you can call them soldiers. And then in some of them, they have 2 shotguns. So these 2 units here have 2 extra shotguns. And then the ones with Molotov cocktails also count as having anti-tank grenades. As well in that infantry platoon, we have a Blackguard Bombard, just as a Blackguard Bombard. We also have a forward artillery observer that's represented by 2 of these spy-like figures that I showed earlier. And then we have an artillery platoon at the back. Now there isn't rules for the Northover projector and the Smith gun in the Armies of Great Britain. I'm sure you could actually use the campaign supplement, but just to show here that you can make a full Home Guard army just out of the new Armies of Great Britain. These are kind of being used as other weapons. So we've got the obviously platoon commander to lead the artillery platoon. Then we have a Northover projector that will be representing a 2-pounder gun, as it was more for anti-tank role. And then we have a Smith gun, which will be used to show a light artillery piece, a light howitzer. So that could be a 75mm pack or a 25-pounder. We also have a spotter, again another spy model, and of course the very military capstan truck to transport the Smith gun onto the field. So it gives you a bit more punch. And then we also have an armoured platoon. So this is kind of British regulars. So they had come to reinforce the Home Guard as they kind of hit contact with the enemy. So we've got a Morris CS9 armoured car. That would be the command vehicle for the platoon. That's got a Boys AT rifle and a Bren LMG. Of course, it wouldn't be an early war British force without a Matilda 2. Again, light AT gun, pretty good at resisting light AT guns itself, only like 37mm, and can go toe-to-toe with all of the German armour of the period. And then an A13 to top out the platoon as well. So a bit faster, but not as heavily armoured. So within that platoon, it gives you a mixture of enough infantry. You've got, you know, four squads there, 40 models that will hopefully hold some objectives. They are all inexperienced and have the green special rule. So there's a chance that they could become regulars once they're first shot, or a chance that actually they break and run. And then you've got a Blackguard Bombard. It's a bit of fun, really, just to kind of hit and attack any enemies dug in. You've got some artillery as well. The Smith gun can do the same. But I think you'll be quite reliant on your Cruiser and Matilda tanks to kind of lead the charge a bit. Your infantry might not do as well. I mean, the handy thing about having unarmed soldiers is that you're not too worried if you lose a few casualties getting into combat. But with this, it's 14 order dice overall, and you should be able to give a good game. I don't think it's going to be winning you any tournaments, but give a good game to any early war German force of the same period. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, showing how Operation Sea Lion is still very much alive and well in Bolt Action V3. And if you'd like to see more, I've got plenty more figures to paint for this project, or even a battle report, then let me know and I'll get something recorded for you. See you later.